All right, well, we'll go ahead and start. If anyone else joins in, I can always recap with them offline or, they can watch the video. So yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for attending this webinar. This will be the second in the series of Secure Remote Networks Made Easy. I know we'd mentioned this in the past about kind of doing a webinar about our new hosted, kind of virtual network solution. It's still along the lines of the whole plug and play, simplify the networking side of things for customers who don't want to have to deal with that complexity of, getting into like a NOC or, dealing with a lot of different remote networks, different VPNs, but still want all the features, the higher level of security and the ability to connect everything together. Also with me here today, he'll be following on some questions and stuff. I have Ming Lee, which is our CEO and president.
Hi, good afternoon. Good morning for the West Coast.
Yeah, good morning for the West Coast, and it's a little bit on the early side. So for this webinar, we're going to deviate a little differently than some in the past. If you guys have any questions, you don't have to wait until the end. We want this to be a more fluid, open webinar and discussion because this is kind of a newer thing. A newer solution we're launching, so we're more than happy to get any feedback from you guys or answer any of your questions. So if I'm going through a slide or talking about something and you have a question, you can just go up to the Q&A and click on that and drop a question. I'll answer it as soon as I finish talking about whatever topic I'm on. So let's go ahead and begin. So just for the people who haven't, watched the first part of our series, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of challenges in remote networking. If you've never experienced it before, trust me, when you have a lot of different remote sites, either getting them to feedback to a SCADA or back to a central location, or even just trying to manage them, it brings a lot of complexity to it. So typically what people have to choose from is, how can I manage different remote sites, connect everything together without, compromising security, but without getting into too much complexity. And really that's where InHand Networks, we're trying to fill that gap in, to try to get a lot of people away from public static IP addresses, whether, I know Verizon's running out of them quite rapidly now, at least for IPv4, and, prevent some of those attacks on IoT while, keeping you guys from having to go out and set up a NOC and different VPN servers and manage them and the upkeep, just keep it nice and simple, more or less as a network as a solution. So for the Made Easy series, we're looking to provide simple and direct access. So think of it, rather than a bunch of different VPN connections, think of it at least as the end user standpoint, is it just a virtual local network. So all the devices can communicate easily to each other. They don't know that they're at remote sites or in different locations. You're still going to have advanced data security. So from the transmission layer, everything's in a VPN. It's protected, it's encrypted, so you don't have to worry about any issues there. We're really pushing for kind of a plug and play because, your time is valuable to us, almost as much as it is to you. So, we're looking to provide, pre-configurations for devices, so that way, when you buy a VPN router, you don't have to say, all right, now how do I set up the VPN and how do I make it work into my network topology without messing anything up? And then we also pushed it a little step further to a one-stop service, where you can get your VPN router, you can get the service of having a VPN and that virtual networking, and also you can get a data plan. So if you want everything pretty much configured, as far as the VPN, the hardware, already have a cellular data plan. We're looking to kind of help blend all that together just to save, cost and time. So as I said before, this is the second part of our series. We call this more of a mid-scale. We covered the small scale previously, which is more or less for, I only need a handful of remote connections. It's a very simple topology. So, in that case, you could use an IR900 as a VPN server, and we could do some pre-config for you. But this is our mid-scale hosted. So, the service is being hosted on the cloud. It's connecting everything together, and it'll support up to roughly 200 connections. So we're thinking a lot more scalability here. And then if it was to exceed 200 or go above, then we can start looking into, a specialized network center type solution. So the main topics in this is we'll be covering this hosted VPN solution, compatible hardware from the InHand VPN routers, and then of course pricing. So we'll start off with the hosted VPN service. So in essence, InHand, as I mentioned before, we're kind of taking care of the back end and also doing the initial step of pre-configuration, managing, the maintenance, keeping everything up and running. So that way the customer can treat it just as a service. I need connectivity between my devices, InHand takes care of the rest. So what we do is we're hosting an open VPN server and also a AAA radius server on Amazon's cloud. And that'll be hosted in the US, so no worries about security where the cloud's being hosted. And we'll use different types of authentication to connect all your devices together. So there'll be, in essence, in different groups, and then the groups can talk to different clients, different routers. And that way, if you have an end device and it needs to communicate with another end device, let's say a PLC to PLC for our automation people, as far as the PLC knows, they're all on the same local network. So if you want to have a pump station and a tank, communicating between the two to coordinate, the actual automation, it's not a problem. There'll also be remote access, and we're facilitating that. You can either do it on a PC or if you want to use a mobile device. It's still going to involve a open VPN client, so you still get that security as far as your VPN connectivity. And, you just have to outline that as far as what you want. So you still get your remote access from the users, your end-to-end communications, and we'll still have the ability for you to view your device's connection status, check the configurations, you'll be able to see the local and the virtual IP addresses, and, you're not completely blind to what's happening in the back end. You just don't have to worry about all the work. So plug and play, how to order. So if a customer has an interest in this, you want to get involved, from the customer side, what we'll need is the number of remote connections. So how many routers you need to connect devices in, what in-router part number that you prefer to use. And then, your email account, which the initial one will be set as the admin account. So if they have a specific person they want to be the administrator of the account, then that's the email that should be sent in. And what we'll do is we'll use that for setting up the management software on our device manager's cloud. And that kind of comes with this, so you can manage the devices. The IP subnet information, just a general idea of the topology which you're wanting to connect the different devices in. And then access via PC or mobile device, you need to specify that, so that way we can send you the right config files, the right information on how to set up your client side for, whether you're doing it on your mobile phone or on a work PC. And the good news is with this, we're going to have a template set up. So that way, you can just take the template, fill it out, and send it in. We'll keep it nice and smooth and easy for the ordering side. And then from this information you give us, this will allow us to pre-configure each of the routers. We'll be putting kind of like a sticker on each router, which will have the details of the configuration information, including the available IP address and serial number. So that way you can, track which devices on the cloud, or which in the actual real world. And that way you'll have an idea of what your local network's going to be. And then documentation on the in-router configuration, for your PC and your mobile devices. So when you actually, if you want remote access, that way we can take that information and give you the correct configurations to set it up. And with this, we're going to set up all the devices on the cloud. So that way, traditionally for users who've used our g.inhandnetworks.com for just basic network and router management, with this solution, we're going to go ahead and add all the routers and devices into the cloud. So when you get an email and it tells you your account information for your initial login as the administrator, everything will already be in there. You won't have to go through and add them all individually like in the past. So other things for the customers, they'll need to configure the IP address of their field devices, based on the configuration sticker. So once we've set up kind of the virtual network, you'll need to potentially adjust the IP addresses of whatever devices you're connected in so they can talk locally. And then, of course, the inter-access between, field devices within one group. So if you want different devices talking to each other in a group, the inter-access has got to be kind of set up or determined. What InHand will be providing from this portion is, basic configuration information. And as always with all of our solutions, we always have, 24-hour tech support that can, help you along if you need help with anything. So additional information as far as like options and different things we're looking at. As I kind of mentioned before, installing the VPN client on your PC or mobile device, that's definitely going to be a thing if you want that remote access. And really what InHand will need to do to give you access through that client, whatever type of open VPN client you install or we recommend, there will be, CA certificates, usernames, passwords. We're going to send all that to you. So once you've kind of created the account and we've got the information pre-configured and kicked out, then we can send you, not just, installation and simple configuration data, but also, your certificates. So like I said, once the customer receives an email with the admin account information, they can log into the device manager and immediately start viewing the connection status and data usage. And really for this first step, this is a good baseline to start. Go in, check the devices. They should all be added, activated, and pre-configured. So that way, if there's going to be any issues in the initial, setup and implementation, this is your chance to kind of see if there's any issues and get them ironed out before, you start moving forward with the solution. And like I said, InHand Cloud Manager, it'll send the email out automatically, and we'll pull that from your template file. And then, we have the tech support. So like I said, I know I've kind of talked a little bit about the easy remote access. It's a 24-hour VPN. So unlike, some of our other solutions like Device Touch, where you create it and you're billed by the hour. So, kind of a troubleshooting VPN, this one is 24/7 access. So you can leave the VPN running. It'll be running continuously. So at any point, if you want to log in and access your device, you don't have to worry about any type of additional costs is associated with that. Or if, you need a new user to log in, you don't have to worry about other license to, get someone else into the cloud. It's all just kind of built and in place, running continuously. And this will make remote configurations pretty easy without the site visits. It's your basic remote access, control between different groups. So if you want to change, who has access to what and what level of access they have, that'll be there. Or if you want to change up, client 1 talking to client 10 instead of 20, all that control will be built in. From kind of surprised, no questions yet, but hey, I'll take that as a good thing. So the client management via InHand, it's the G.InHand Networks cloud server. You can view real-time connection status of your in-router VPNs. You can monitor your data usage. You can see what's online, offline. You can also do batch modifications and configurations. If we launch a new patch for a different firmware type, you can go in and load it individually to each router remotely, or you can do it as a big batch file and upgrade thousands at a time. And it's just a nice, easy tool to use to just kind of keep an eye on your network, see where everything's at, what's connected, and where your problems might reside. And, you also have the ability to download reports as far as uptime, downtime, data consumption, and you can set it to, have alarms where if data consumption goes up higher on one side, then it'll kick that out to and let you know. That's good to, make sure device isn't using excessive data. Or also, typically if malware or some type of malicious attack occurs against your router or your network, one of the first immediate signs is there'll be higher data consumption. So I know I've mentioned higher security. As far as, our routers have a lot of different security features built in, but specifically for this VPN solution, we're using triple authentication on username and passwords. There'll be a CA certificate on the in router for the client. So that way, not just anyone can, get the configuration and connect into your network. And since those certificates will be provided by InHand, you don't have to worry about the process of building your own certificates, which is a very tedious process because any one little mistake will deny you access. And and since we control the certificates, you don't have to worry about any third parties or malicious actors getting your basic configuration and being able to log in as a new client. And of course, as with all VPNs, you get that secure data transmission, so no one's going to be able to capture any packets or breach the confidentiality or the integrity of your data. So I mentioned before, one-stop shop for service. We're looking to make it as easy for whether you as a distributor or you as an end user to just get the device and get it in the field, because I know with a lot of different competitors, a lot of different product lines out there, buying the router is just the first piece, and then going through and doing all the installation, getting in touch with Verizon or AT&T, setting up some type of management to keep an eye on your network itself, having the ability to link it in for your SCADA, different types of alarms, and then the time to actually install it at the site after configuring the device. Each site can consume a lot of time, and you lose a lot of efficiency as the end user at a site when you have to go through and install multiple remote devices. So we're looking to try to streamline that and save you as much time and money as possible, so that way you can just get the device, do a simple configuration as possible with the devices, like your PLCs, your PCs, your servers, your end devices as possible, which no matter what happens, you would still have to configure those. So like I said, InHand, we're slowly but surely trying to provide as much of the workload as possible on ourselves and to save you time. So now we'll move on to, what routers will support this new hosted service, this virtual network. So currently we're going to have it supporting the nRouter 900 series and the nRouter 600 series, because all these devices support the Open VPN client. They support your AAA authentication. So, whether you want to do a 912, a 915, an IR615, or an IR611, they'll all be supported. So this isn't just for industrial customers. This is for anyone who wants that simple virtual network. So just a quick brief touch on the 900 series. This is our flagship product. It's highly industrialized, EMC level 4, that's higher than your PLC. You can get in 2 or 5 Ethernet, serial for 45 or 232. It also comes with 1 digital I/O. You can get an LTE or 3G, Wi-Fi, and then it supports many different data security features, whether it be for the transmission or the actual firewall protection against, denial of service attacks. It's all built in, stateful packet filtering, and then of course your AAA authentication support. It does support remote management via the cloud, so no issue there. And then it also has an open API for Python. So for this product, if you want to script it to do data aggregation from multiple devices, if you want to go in and script it to do data logging, if you want it to do Modbus calculations at the edge to just send back finished data to your SCADA, I've seen it all done. So it's there's a lot of flexibility there. You don't have to limit yourself just to what comes with the basic model. Then next we have the nRouter 600 series. This is kind of the low cost, industrial VPN routers. You get the 611, which is typically used in unattended. It's used in, I would say, lighter industrial applications because it stands at an EMC level 2. And then you have the 615, which has got the EMC level 3. So typically for our industrial customers, we'll recommend, the IR615 because it also has the DIN rail mount. It has, an industrial power. So you can plug your DC directly into a terminal block. You can get both of them in 232 or 45 for serial if you're still on, some legacy systems. The 611 only comes with 1 Ethernet and the 15 comes with 5. They still support all of the security features that the 900 has. And of course, they're a lot lower cost. So, a really good product line for a lot of OEMs and customers who, your profit margins, are limited by how much you can increase your product's price. And they're a lot smaller than the 900 series, more compact, easy to fit. I mean, overall, they're a very good product, and, the life cycle is typically 3 times longer than a commercial product for those customers who look into like unattended, kiosk, digital signage, not as industrial as, the utilities or, the grid. So just to recap again a little bit on the data security, at the router itself, you have the firewall. I'm not going to read it through to you, but there's a lot of different features, kind of the standards for protecting the gateway itself and the data that comes through to your local network. Security data transmission, we support pretty much any type of VPN or transmission layer security, and then of course for device management security, we are using multi-level user access control. AAA, we have a radius server sitting on the cloud. And then if you want to integrate in with your devices some other AAA authentication, they support it. We can send you documentation or work with you to help set it up. Now we'll move on to pricing, right? So with pricing, the typical setup for this structure is you have a 3-tier pricing. The first is that it's $299 per remote connection. So to expand on that, if you have 10 routers that are on the VPN service that are, they're running 24 hours a day, if they're connected to it, then that's $299 per device. Now we also added in plus data plan. If you're doing the data plan through us, then, that would be calculated in with that. If you're doing it through someone else, that's still a reoccurring monthly cost that you would have to deal with. Now InHand also charges $15 additional per router, and that's for the pre-configuration. So in other words, if you need, if you buy a router from us and it's not going on this service, then you don't have to pay the $15 for pre-configuration. But if it goes on the hosted service, we are pre-configuring the router and it's taking time from our engineers. So, and then the final is per account. So as a company, whether you're an end user or whoever is, owns this account, there is a $120 annual fee that we charge. And that's just for the support and the upkeep of the actual Amazon cloud server. So any maintenance, support, doing patches, upgrades to the firmware we have running there, that's just a general account. So just $120 a year. Now, with that said, just recently, literally days ago, we decided to offer a special offer, for pilot projects, or hey, if you want to get out and you want to test this solution, see if it's a good fit for you, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the pre-configurations for free on the devices. So, we still got the $299 and the $120 a year, but the $299 is covering our costs for actually using the cloud server from Amazon. So, it's not really a profit-driven fee. It's more or less, this is the cost to do cloud computing, and we just carry it over. So from the in-router selection I mentioned, you have the 912, the 915, the IR611S, and the IR615. This is just a brief, overview of those different product lines. And I'd be more than happy to send you guys this slide deck, so that way you can have a quick look and see what has all the specs that you need as far as, your interfaces and carriers. And now we'll open it up to Q&A. So if you didn't have a question before and you're a little shy to share it, feel free to ask your questions now.
So while we are waiting for the questions, I think there's one additional point we'd like to share, that we are going to support our distributor to resell this service and package. But we need to figure out, and we need to pilot and test and how to support, because we will, InHand Networks engineer will do all the configurations, and but someone need to support and to help us to sell and distribute the hardware. So we will figure out we'll find the best way to work together. So that's right now it's a pilot stage. So if you are a distributor, you are willing to promote this solution, just come to us, and we will define a process, like, okay, how to share the for example, the serial number of the products you shipped, or whether a distributor would like to need us to arrange the drop shipment directly from InHand Network's inventory, and we can arrange that kind of support.
Okay, I got a question from an anonymous attendee, so we'll keep it discreet.
Mm-hmm.
Can this solution be used for an office or small business VPN?
Well, technically speaking, it's okay because it's like the VPN. We aggregate the VPN by the cloud platform, and so that we provide more or less transparent virtual local area network. We establish a local area network. But on the practical aspect, we would like to. There's limitation. Because, for example, when we create account, we will only, at the beginning stage, we will only allow one PC in these connections, and all the other connections need to be in routers. So, but we still keep the transparency, and so if everything else going through our in router, then the whole system will work. So there's only one PC in each account, in each group, let's say.
Yeah. And then if you wanted to connect in with the PC, you would buy an N router and hook it up to a PC. And part of this to understand is, since we're dealing with the cloud computing, there's been a lot of fears over the last few years about the security within that. Mm-hmm. So part of this is also, it relates to the security side. So since we manage the certificates, if it goes on our product, then, it's more secure than if, employee X, he gets a PC, he downloads an open VPN client, maybe it's recommended, maybe it's not, and then he just, reaches out to InHand and gets a certificate. That certificate's sitting on his PC, and, if for any reason that PC becomes compromised, then the certificate can become compromised. Whereas if it's on the end router, only the people with access to that have it, and only the people who know how to pull the certificate from there, which which is not a simple process. It'll allow a greater level of security and control. So you're calling this a host computer?
No, actually, it's not a host computer. We designed this solution because in a lot of cases, our customer will need to run some software which is on a PC or even a mobile phone to access the remote devices. For example, they may run SCADA software on one of the PC, and all the other controllers or equipment are in remote locations. And then this PC is to run those kind of softwares. So this PC is not for other. We designed this for this kind of scenario.
Think of it as like either the PC, the server running the SCADA, or potentially your network administrator, because the network administrator is going to have his host PC a lot more protected than employee X or employee Y. And employee X and Y can still get access. They'll just need an InHand router to connect into the virtual network.
Right. So it depends. So yes or no depends on how to define a host computer. But the idea is that we will let one PC get connected into this virtual local area network. So this PC have the full access to all the remote devices. And so the customer can run any software on the PC which can access those equipments.
Okay. Any other questions out there? Oh, looks like I got something over the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. This is from Ismet. What's the procedure to get one device configured for a sample?
So maybe we can go back to one of the previous page. Actually, it will be the same.
If I recall, it's the procedure it should be the same as far as what the customer needs to do. If you look at the screen, it says that the customer will need to fill out a template. So you would just want to specify, you would fill out the template the same as though you're buying it or getting a sample, and then you would send that in with a request for a sample.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question, Ismet? All right, in that case, we'll move on to Gary. What happened to the Gateway 601 in the U.S. market? So for the IG 601, will that be supported or?
Yeah, that's so IG 601 is still alive, and we are still providing this product to in US market. But the current situation is that IG 601 only have the certification of 3G products, whether both with AT&T and Verizon. So right now, the roadmap to upgrade IG 601 to LT is not clear at this moment because we are more focused on the IR900s. IR900, for example, already got all the certification, both AT&T and Verizon, and IR600, AT&T is already certified. Verizon is coming very soon, and we don't have the time frame for the IG601 yet. So, but it is alive, but it's only 3G now in US market.
Yeah, so if you're going 3G, you can just let us know with the IG601. And if it's outside the US where 3G is going to be for, another decade, then that's fine too. We can still get you involved and get that product line up on this kind of virtual network. So also from Gary, he said, what VPN clients are officially supported?
We are going through the VPN clients. Okay, there are two. I understand this question. There might be two possibility of the question. What does the question means here? One is that, okay, the VPN client on the software aspect, we are going to propose the standardized OpenVPN client. So it's pretty standard, and it's from the OpenVPN organization association. And if we are talking about hardware here, actually all our in-router product lines can support can be the OpenVPN client. So, but for the software, it will be the standard version of OpenVPN client, which is license free, which is open source, and which can be downloaded from the OpenVPN official website.
And also, Gary said, is there an app for remote access monitoring and control for Android or iOS?
No, at this moment we don't have a dedicated, and this is a very complex question. So let me answer it in two ways, in two different situations. The first situation is that no, we don't have an app right now for the remote control, access, monitoring, but our customer can still do something with on the mobile phone because it's just a web browser interface. For example, you can log in to Device Manager because we are, for this kind of package, this virtual VPN service, we are going to create DM account, InHand Device Manager account for the customer, and so that the customer can use the mobile phone's web browser to access the website, log in, and to do some for example, to check the connection status, to check the data flow consumptions in this month, and also to look at the signal strengths of those remote in routers. So yeah, our customer can always do that.
I would expand on that just for a minute, just by saying that, once you download a VPN client, any type of open VPN client onto your mobile phone, and you get your certificate and you connect into the network, I'll use our friends from Schneider. They have the M172 and it has a local web server on it. So at that point, you're on the local network. If you want to go in and access that PLC's web server, you would be able to do that from your mobile phone. And then as far as for the monitoring and control, an access level, that would all be dependent upon how you set up your PLC's web server.
Right. That's right. So again, back to the essential concept of this solution, of this service here, is that we create a virtual aggregated, virtualized local area network so that the customer can run any software on the PC or any app on the phone to access all the equipment or devices within this virtual network. For example, Schneider customers, they can run the Visual Air on the Android or iOS phone, so that the Visual Air can access their controller in the network, in the local area network. And so it's kind of their version, Schneider version of our SCADA client on the phone. So it's kind of transparent, and we support that.
Yeah, the way to look at it is we're providing network as a service. That's in essence what this whole hosted virtual network is. And at the application layer, it's whatever you want to use. We're providing the connectivity between all the different sites to make it feel local. And then whatever you want to run on it after that is, it's up to you. This isn't so much of a monitoring solution or even specifically an access solution. We're just providing the networking.
Yes, exactly.
The networking without the complexity or the work from the back end.
That's right.
Okay. Hope that answered your question, Gary. If not, feel free to shoot any more my way. Is there any other questions from anyone? Oh, well, good. That answered Gary's question. All right. Well, I guess on that note, we'll get ready to close this webinar out. And we definitely appreciate you all attending. We hope you attend our next webinar. We do one the last Wednesday of every month. It varies. Could be, following up on, the series of Secure Networks Made Easy to, product information, introduction to different solutions we provide, but we definitely appreciate you coming. I hope you come to the next. And as a final note, if anyone who attended the webinar, or someone who couldn't, if you know someone who would like to see it, we will be posting it on YouTube so they can rewatch the webinar. And if you'd like a copy of the PowerPoint or some documentation or review through and kind of have that hard copy sitting in front of you, oh, see, Ismet asked for it. All you got to do is just reach out to your local guy, or if you're an end user, to your distributor. And, we'd be more than happy to push out a copy of this presentation to anyone. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. And like I said, if you have any more questions, you can reach any of us at any time. And we'd be more than happy to, delve in more on this topic.
Thank you. And look forward to see you next month. We are going to do this monthly webinar.